And good evening. Happy Friday. We have begun, sometimes we change it up. It used to be Monday, forever after that. And then we've been shaking it up with a busy schedule. So I've been trying to shoot for Friday at 6 o'clock. So today I went, oh my gosh, it's Friday. So at 6 o'clock, I'm just going to wait. I have no idea what we're going to do tonight. I seriously don't. Sometimes I just get the push. So I decided to jump in. We'll just see. I've been kind of getting the push all day. So let's just see as people join me. I want it to be interactive. I'd love for everyone to tell me how the energy is treating them today, because it has been a really, really difficult time. I think for many of us, there's a lot of purging. There's a lot of deep emotions coming up. Time to allow them to come up and not bottle them back up so that they can come into healing. You can bring them into the light. We don't need to keep suffering through all these emotions forever. So right now we're in a deep purging. So I know that many people that I've been talking to, I see some, hi Angel, thank you for joining me. I know that many people that I've been talking to are really going through some deep emotions right now, and me included. It's been a time of, I think the holidays can be that way for many of us anyway. And then we're also in this energy of how many of you, and I really want us to be interactive on these Friday nights, okay? I see 5 already, so keep on coming. Here's my question for you. Do you feel as if, calling in my guides to get a little bit of, I want to work on this question. Hi, Shauna. Do you feel as if we are coming? Do you feel the newness of something? Do you feel as if we have been waiting and waiting and waiting and working our way to something? Hi, Carolyn. Waiting for something. If you guys can share this out, let's try to get a crowd in here tonight. We've been waiting for something to come about, and we have been working so hard at it. How many of us, we've been trying to do all the clearing, we've been doing all the exercises, the meditation, we're learning how to go deep, go within, look for our answers. Hi, Todd. But then, hi, Susan. It feels like we work so hard, and the ego is like, look at everything I've done. The ego loves to show off, look at all the hard work I've done. And yet we still have work. We still have things that are coming up. We are really working. This is my take on what's going on with me, and I think many of you can relate. There is still some deep wounds. There's still some tough stuff inside of us that is working, that as the ego is coming into alignment with the higher self, as you're inhabiting this beautiful body that you've been given, the true you is coming in, moving in alongside of that personality that is your ego. And the ego still wants to play the old games. The ego loves fear. Doesn't love it, but it spends a lot of time turning it around in your head, doesn't it? And it likes to control everything. And the ego is very much into controlling all the circumstances, whether we can control them or not. The ego wants to try to find a way. And that causes a lot of anxiety. We're seeing a lot of people with anxiety attacks. I know for me, I seem to be past that phase right now. I went through it very deeply. A lot of anxiety attacks in the middle of the night, waking me up, a lot of chest pain, a lot of issues with that. So if you're having that now, I can tell you you're going to get to the other side of it, but I know it's very uncomfortable to be in. This is a big part of the purging of all of this stuff that we've got inside of us. We have these crazy dreams, full color action all night long. For me last night, it was wild. So much releasing. So I want to talk about that today. I would love for you guys to tell me how you're doing. Tell me how, are you having, you might be noticing a lot of depression. At times when you would think, I don't have any reason for this. I don't have a reason to feel angry. I don't have a reason to feel sad. I don't have a reason to feel depressed. Things are good in my life. And yet it's coming up anyway because you're really purging. And one thing that I am really noticing is that the more I place my attention on something, the more within me, the more it's my outside world is mimicking what's going on inside of me. So if I'm having a lot of anxiety, if I'm spending a lot of time in negative energy, if I'm living with I'm like paying too much attention to lack, I'm looking around me and maybe a little envious of other people, thinking, wow, they got it so easy or everything's so good for them. And yet why, how the ego gets rolling on that stuff? The more we give our attention to that, hi Lauren Riley, the more we seem to be seeing that very, very quickly manifest into our lives. I know everyone's big on the word manifesting. That the past few years has become such a huge thing. Lots of books being written about it, lots of people talking on it. Please remember that you have been manifesting every second of your life with your emotional body, with your imagination, with the attention that you're giving to your life. And we're in a very, we're shifting here, right? So when we are thinking, when we are imagining, when we are giving attention to those things that are happening in our lives, we're finding that we're actually creating the energy for more of what we're putting into it, right? So if you're spending a lot of time, hi Deborah. If you're spending a lot of time, hi Lorna. Susan, I think I said hi. If you're spending a lot of time feeling depleted, which it's not, it is very difficult right now because we are energetically, we're doing a lot of work 24/7. So yes, you're going to feel kind of depleted, but if you're allowing yourself to spend a lot of time feeling grumpy or looking around you and seeing lack all the time or being angry with the people, the way they're driving or the way they're acting when they're out Christmas shopping or whatever it is, if you're giving your attention to those things that you don't want in your life, you will find very quickly that more of what you're giving your attention to, excuse me, more of what you're giving your attention to is coming into your physical. So I think that's for me. That's my big thing tonight. And I'd love to hear from some of you what you're noticing. Hi, Lilac Pixie Dust. What do you got going? Just released a lot of energy. Good job, Lauren Riley. Isn't that what it's all about right now? You know, it's kind of sifting through. It's funny how my physical life will mimic what's going on inside of me always. I'm finding it more and more. And so today, here I am. You know, I've got space that I've had a daughter move out. I've got all this new space. I'm sorting through things that she left behind. I'm sorting through things that I've, my own clutter today. So today has been one of those days of sorting in my physical world. But I have been doing a lot of sorting in my heart, in my inner world also. And so my outer world is a part of it. And I'm finding also, how many times do you say you've got a lot of clutter in a space and it just messes with you? All you sensitive souls. If you don't have things fairly well organized or where you want them, or you don't make your space something special, then you'll find that when you're in that space, you feel that heaviness or the ADHD effect. There's too much stuff around me. I've got too many, everything holds energy. Everything is energy. And so everything that's around me has an effect on how I'm feeling. And so if I have all that clutter, then I'm not feeling well on the inside either. So you see how it's all connected. That's what I'm talking about tonight, is that connection of what's going on in my inner world is affecting my outer world, and what's going on in my outer world is affecting my inner world. And so it requires us to spend more time, to be more, what's a good word? Oh, it was right there a second ago. How many can't remember words anymore? To be more specific, more careful about what you're giving your attention to, and pay attention to how you're feeling in different spaces. You are becoming more and more sensitive. I have a little frog in my throat tonight. It keeps playing games with me. That usually means there's some clearing to go on in the throat chakra with somebody that's here. Hi, Billy. And it could be me too. Lauren, I hold myself back, caring too much about, whoops. It keeps bouncing on me. I can feel I want, but I never enjoy the way it comes to me. Yeah. I think it's really important, Lauren, to be specific, isn't it? You know, okay, the universe responds to us. It responds to our energy, right? So it's not the words. It's not the words of, like I can say, well, I would like this and this and this and this. I'm talking to the universe. I'm talking to you, universe, and I want these things. The universe doesn't respond to my words. The universe is always going to respond to my energy. So I find that it's far more effective for me to say, there's something that I'd really like to shift in my life. There's something that I'd really like. Instead of just listing off what I'd like. Yeah, I know what I want, so here's my words for it. We have to work energetically. We have to spend time imagining, creating. You get in your meditation and you be the child again and you start daydreaming. And as you're daydreaming that thing that you're really, really wanting, you want your emotions to go with it. You want your energy to flow through your creation. You see the difference? Everything that the way that the universe is responding to us is always through our energy, through our imagination, through our emotional body. So important to remember that. So you can say one thing, and it might seem positive with the words that you're saying, but if the energy that you've attached to it isn't so positive, then you're not going to receive what you're looking for. You'll likely get the opposite, because the universe doesn't see right, wrong, good, bad the way we do. The universe, we're not in a place of judgment when we're on the other side. It's all just, okay, whatever you want to experience, you can experience. And we are listening. We are coming to you through energy. We are communicating through the energy that you put forth, always. There's no words really necessary. The words that we speak out loud are for our own ego. It's for ourselves, because our ego needs to hear us speak. But the universe, God, whatever you choose to call that energy, that is responding to you, speaks through us energetically, responds to us energetically, always. Hard to remember. It's a hard shift. This is really tough right now. Good evening, Lorna. Let's see, what else? Lauren, I hold myself back due to the way. I see it keeps bouncing on me every time I try to read you. Let me try it, see if I can catch it again. Who else? I just saw somebody else here. Lilac Pixie Dust, I said hi to you. Yeah, I think that we can get tied up. Lauren, that's exactly what we're talking about tonight, is we get tied up in trying to do things the way that we've always done it. We're not in the same energy that we've been in. And this is the biggest thing. When I go out, I tend to spend a lot of time driving through the mountains talking with my guides. That's where I hear them the most clearly. And I think that oftentimes we want to still keep on. The ego still likes comfort, right? Likes to do things the way it's always learned. Now, we've been doing this a certain way for eons. And now we're being asked to shift. And everything is upside down backwards day. We are not responding. We have to go away from responding to the outward world as if we are out of control, as if we are just pawns out in the ocean. The idea is to come within, create from inside, create it energetically, and then it comes forth. It's not that it's just happening to us, we are creating it. And I believe that that is probably the biggest shift, the hardest thing for us to change to, because it's easier for us to give the credit or the blame to someone else when things aren't going just the way we want them to. I do it all the time. I fall into that game of trying to blame, trying to look for why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Or what is somebody else doing? Or, we always the ego always loves to try to look for a reason for why things are happening. When in truth, it's more important to just let it go. Don't give it too much attention. There's something in your life that you don't want there. The more attention you give it, the bigger it gets. It's like a little monster. It's in a little cage, it's fine. It's like give it a little snack every now and then, leave it alone. Yes, it's there. It's kind of making loud noises and you're kind of getting irritated with it, but it's not doing any harm. But the second you start really giving it your attention, it starts growing. And pretty soon you can't keep it in the cage anymore. Pretty soon it's just a part of your existence. And you're like, how did this get so big? Because I fed it with my attention. I kept giving it that. Whatever we give our attention to. So that the trick is focusing on what you want. It's letting go of trying to control the things that you can't control. It's letting go of the idea that things are just happening and I'm a helpless victim. And being in that space of calling in that higher, that truth of who you are. Remembering that you're powerful. Remembering that if you can hold yourself in the right energy, you are actually always creating. You've always been creating. You've been creating since birth. But you've been creating from that negative energy, that that woe is me victim mode for so long that it's so easy to keep falling back into that. And then you're like, oh, why did this happen? Because we are manifesting like this now. There's no like, I remember after Steve died, I started walking through the woods a lot. I was walking the dog all the time. And I remember I actually pulled up an old video of right not too long after he passed. It was about a year after. And I remember saying that I was creating my fairy tale. And while I was out walking, I would envision a sweet little fairy tale house in the mountains. And I even envisioned a very tall man, meeting a very tall man in the mountains. I mean, I had all of this in my head. I was sorting through what I would love, what my fairy tale would look like. And I look at it now. It's been about 5 years since I was walking through the woods and really trying to create this. And about 3 years ago, I came to this house. It's sitting at the base of a mountain. Stone. It's on the stone on the front. It looks like a little fairy tale house. And when I drove up in front of it, I was like, my gosh, it looks like Snow White should live there. Remember that a few years ago, it really did take some time. You know, we were imagining and creating, and then a few years later, finally, boom, oh, there it is. I created this 3 years ago. Well, we're not in that energy so much anymore. We're in the energy of creation, but it's very fast. It's super fast. So you might have had some time before. If you were playing around in the negative energy and thinking of what you'd given too much attention to that monster in the cage, you might have had some time to turn yourself back around and say, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? Nowadays, we start giving the energy to those things that we don't want, and guess what? They're like there. So that's actually a positive thing when you think about how quickly. So what happens when you focus on what you do want? What happens when you focus on gratitude? Gratitude is big. Affirmations, speaking out loud, very, very important. It's very important for your ego. Your ego is learning here. Your ego is not just stepping aside. Your ego needs you to be the parent figure, to be that loving figure that comes in and teaches, retrains the ego, because that little person inside of you has been learning for a long time how to play the victim. So now we need to pull that ego in and say, no, we're not in victim mode anymore. So it requires a lot of teaching. Let's see what else you guys got. Gratitude, fatitude. Not sure what that means, but gratitude is fatitude. Hi, Tammy. Nice to see you, Tammy Maxine, Yvonne. Let's see if it stopped jumping on me. Is that Faisal? I'm not sure if I can. Billy, nice to see you. I think I got everybody. Carol. Where we focus our energy and attention is where the energy will manifest, both good and bad. Exactly true. Exactly true. A truer statement could not have been made. Thank you for that. Affirmation and gratitude. I've been working on them daily. Yes, I think that because we're in such a difficult energy right now, we're like really suffering. A lot of days I wake up and I'm just crying and I got no idea. Like, where did I suddenly hit this wave of grief? It's so nice to see you, Yvonne. Shaved kittens. Lauren, why are you trying to manifest shaved kittens? Do you want a bald kitten? Like a sphinx? They're really cool. I don't know. You just use your imagination. So, let's go back. You got I'm off on a tangent now. Lauren, I got to slow my ego down. My ego, I love little bald kittens, so you got me going. So daily, it is in that moment, I want you to understand that your guides, your angels, whoever you'd like to call on, whatever names you use, on the other side, there is nothing but love and understanding. That it's truly this place of, we're just like little children and we're going about the world and we do crazy stuff and we cry a lot and we get kind of fussy and angry sometimes. And they don't judge us. They're not judging you for your emotional upheaval that's going on right now. There is great love for you. And there is understanding that you can't take this baggage with you into a higher dimension. You can't take it because it just is baggage. It's like you got a something that's filled with fluids, you know, when you go to the airport and you try to get through try to get through security, and say you've got a whole bunch of shampoo bottles and they're all like 200 mils of fluid and they're only allowing 100, and they're gonna like take it all and throw it in the garbage. It won't go. It doesn't go. They don't allow it in your carry-on bag. It's the same thing. We can't take, if you were to go into a dimension where you had absolutely instant manifestation, all you had to do was think or imagine something and it happened right there. Now imagine everybody on planet Earth still walking around with all their negative baggage. They got all of this stuff. They're being competitive, they're being greedy, they're being hateful, they're being angry, they're whatever it is. They keep all that baggage and they walk into a dimension where they are manifesting instantly, and they look at somebody that cuts them off or flips them off or whatever, and they think something horrible, and the second they do, boom, it happens. That would be bad. That would be really, really bad. So what we're working on is moving out of that fear-based programming, and it's moving out of the lower frequency energy so that we move into a higher frequency where we are above the need to compete, above the need to be hateful with one another. We come out of fear and we come into love with one another. And so everything that is beneath love, anything that doesn't come from that love filter, is coming up to the surface so that you can deal with it. And if you keep shoving it back down, it's going to find another way to manifest itself. It's going to keep coming back. It's like that dog, that stray dog that just keeps coming back. No matter how many times you try to find him a new home, he just keeps finding his way back to you. You're going to keep on getting these lessons because it is time for you to heal. And the more you try to push them away, the more it's going to keep coming. And this is nobody's fault but your own, because this is what you established for yourself before you came here. You gave yourself multiple opportunities to learn these lessons. And so you keep on hitting it. And if you want to stay in physical form, and you do believe in this whole ascension process, which I believe pretty much everyone that watches me will believe in that, you believe you're moving into a higher frequency. 4D, 5D, as you're moving up. Most light workers are already in 4D. You're already moving. You're out of 3D. But you've still got some stuff that's holding you. It's like being a hot air balloon. You got those heavy bags that are keeping you down in this lower dimension. And it's time to start cutting. It's time to start releasing. So your emotions are following that. They're like, okay, you still got this deep wound inside of you. Your guides, your team loves you so much. They don't want you to still carry that stuff around. But unfortunately, we don't just take an eraser and wash those big, deep, heavy wounds away. They need healing. And in order for them to go into healing, they need to come to the surface so they can see them, so you can see them and you understand it's time. So I can only speak from my own. Let's see how much of this I want to speak of. It's been a very difficult week. That is what I was... Okay, see, I have a kid that likes the name Lyron. Lauren. That is what I'm trying to get rid of, the cyclical living. Yes, I want to buy everything in bulk the next 30 years. Well, it's probably a good idea. I don't know if I'll ever get rid of all of the cyclical living. That word got stuck. I don't know. You'd have shampoo for 5 years. I'm not about. But on a higher note, on a higher level, it's more than about shampoo. It's bringing yourself to that place of, oh, I see, if you were manifesting, you'd have shampoo for the next 5 years. I get it. Yeah. I guess that's okay if that's what you want to create in your world. But the thing is that where we are right now is coming to the end of a year. I want you to feel it. I want you to understand that you've been working so hard. We've all been working so hard to move out of this energy of lack, this energy of fear, all of these things. And we have been releasing for such a long time. And I know many of us are getting very frustrated because here we go again. We're going through it again. Things that we thought that we had completely healed are popping back up to the surface again. And it's frustrating. It really is. I know that you can relate with me when I say things like, I understand people wanting to get off planet. I understand it because sometimes it's so exhausting. It's so tiring. And the lessons just keep coming at us. And after a while, it's like, okay, stop the world. I want to get off. And so I wanted to come on tonight and just encourage you. I do believe that this roller coaster ride that we're on right now the more you face up to these things and work to heal and release, it's important right now. If you don't know how to release, if you don't know how to cut cords, if you don't know how to get yourself clear every day so that you're not carrying everybody else's baggage around, if you need help with that, you find someone who can help you energetically to release that so you're not just on this planet trying to get through this all by yourself. That's an important one too. Nextly, let's see what else you got, because I want you guys to be a part of this. Yeah, I'm seeing that, Lauren. Let me see. I got stuck on the shaved kittens again. Yes, don't watch the news, Lauren. The news is trained. They're trained to give you all the stuff that will scare you, make you angry, get a rise out of people. If you spend all your time watching the news, you're going to be angry. You're going to be focusing on what you don't want to see in the world. Yes, check out make sure you kind of you don't got to put your head in the ground and just say, well, I don't have any idea what's going on in the world. But don't give it your attention. If it's negative stuff that makes you mad, don't feed that monster. Just let it sit in the cage quietly. Tammy Fisk. Hi, Tammy. Trying to see. So, it's pretty great, Lauren, to pay a bill for all year. I'm trying to keep up with you, but you're just talking way too fast for me. So where are you with this? Where are you? Where are you feeling? I'd love to hear from some other people. What does it feel like to be here? We're so close to Christmas. We're moving out of 2022. How is that possible already? Moving into 2023. I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like we're like a snowball. We're just sitting at the top of the mountain. And 2023 is going to give us that shove over the other side. And I personally cannot wait. And because I'm so sure that I'm so close to that big, massive breakthrough, and I know many of us are, that when these big, deep things come at me, I'm willing to sit and just cry it out. Just let it come. Okay, here we go again. Let's just go. Can I give you this? Hold on. Because I don't see I'm waiting for you guys, and you're just going to keep me going. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you. One thing that I've been realizing a lot, sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place. One thing that I've been realizing a lot since my mother's illness is many of us don't give ourselves the credit for what we are here to do on the planet. We're still hiding. We're still pretending that we're just here and everything's happening to us. We might be quietly putting ourselves out there, talking to people every now and then. We're not here to evangelize. We're not here to try to get anyone to think or believe anything that anyway. If we're at that place where if you put yourself out there, you'll attract the ones that feel like they're a part of this whole thing. But we're not here to try to force it down anybody's throats. But what are we here for? And I'm going to give you this. You're here to do miracles. You're here to be a portal to miracles. And, the energy's coming in now. And when we sit around and deny that, when we sit around and play small, we are denying the world what we came here to give it. So, if you are one of these people that's super energy sensitive, that she always feels the energy, do you see that? If you're super energy sensitive, if you know that you're a healer, and many of you are, you're very empathic, you are able to channel energy, whether you're sitting there like Esther Hicks or Lee Carroll and words are coming out of your mouth. That's their way of doing this. They're here as a messenger. They're here to channel messages. Some of us are here to channel healing energy. And that is the what's a good word? Give me the words you want. That is the miracle in the making. That is the being in the right place at the right time. You're there and suddenly, or maybe you could be even at a distance from somebody, but suddenly they say they're not feeling well and you start feeling the energy flow. And you don't know why you feel all that energy flowing, but you know it's going somewhere, and you just sit in it and you're just allowing yourself to be the portal to this beautiful energy of miracles. We are coming to a place where there's that remembrance of who you are. And let me give you what they gave me this week. When I'm in my ego, purely in my ego, I feel very small. I feel very incapable. I'm very insecure. It's hard for me to put myself out in front of people. I'm very insecure. I was one of the shyest kids in school. I was always a wallflower. I never went to a dance. I didn't go to my prom. I didn't do any of that because I was just as shy as I could be. Dancing in front of people? Never talked in front of people. Never did that. So when I'm in my small self, I like to be invisible. I don't want people, when I walk out into my neighborhood, I put in my earbuds, walk the dog quietly. I don't want to be in people's faces. My higher self is nothing like that. And I can guarantee yours isn't. When that part of me is happening now, and I can't speak because that energy is so beautiful, we're perfectly connected to the other side. Imagine now, you're sitting there saying, well, I don't know how to channel energy. I don't know how to be a miracle maker. That's not me. Well, yes, it is, because you're connected. All you got to do is tune in. You are connected to your God self at all times. And we are more connected now than we've ever been. So it's a matter of being present in the idea that you are more than this little small person that you look at in the mirror. Your ego needs love and needs to hear you say, needs to hear the voice of your higher self, needs to hear you allow for that voice to come in, that voice of your higher self. When that voice of your higher self comes in, there's God in that. People will say, your voice is so calming, or why do I feel like I know you? Because you do. At a soul level, you know me and I know you. At a soul level, we're all so beautifully connected. Every single being that you see, everyone on the streets, we're all so beautifully connected. We've just forgotten. So when I'm out and about, I get it all the time. The more that I tune into my higher self, the more I get people coming to me and saying, why do I know you? I've heard your voice before. Why do I know you? All the time. And they'll just come up to me and start telling me their whole life story. It happens all the time. And I'm sure you've experienced it too. Why is that? Think about it. Because we're all so beautifully connected. We're all best friends on the other side. So energy is so beautiful. It's coming in. Take a breath. Wow. So all of my entourage decided to join me in this conversation. I don't know if you can feel that, but such a beautiful energy. And you are also. And it just requires you to sit down. There's no magic trick. You don't need big fancy teachers. You don't got to go to a big fancy school. I know there's a lot of great schools out there to teach people about this stuff, but the truth is, it's learning how to shift. It's learning how to pull that ego into alignment. Sometimes at first you got to tell the ego to take a little nap, give it a little fluffy toy and send it to the corner for a nap. But after a while you get okay. You begin to be tuned in, tapped on, whatever it is she says all the time. You are always tapped in. You're always plugged in. After a while you just shift over. Boom, here I am. It's not just yes, we all have, me too. I have this little grumpy ego sometimes that gets really tired and yelling at other drivers or whatever. But the most beautiful thing that I'm seeing in people now, and all of you that join me and share this out or whatever, is that I'm seeing more and more where we are always connected. We're not separate. The old energy was we were separate. We come down, we get blocked, whatever kind of amnesia implant, whatever we get, we suddenly forget who we are. And we're walking through life, and it seems like it's just beating us up left and right. It's not very fun sometimes, most of the time for a lot of us. And we have been so affected by all the pains and the traumas in our lives that we've been walking around thinking that we're so small. And we had people tell us, "You're small, sit down, be quiet, don't talk at the table." Shh, they're always hushing us when we're trying to have fun. We try to play in the dirt, they're yelling at us to get out of the dirt. When we're daydreaming, they're coming up and smacking us upside the head so that we'll learn from their books. All those things. Kids are so natural. They know who they are, little babies. They just are little pieces of God, and they know who they are. You are still that beautiful little piece of God that came to the planet. You have forgotten who you are, and it's time to remember. And so more and more you tune in, you let go. It kind of shifts your way of seeing the world. And that's been the hardest thing. Hear me in this. That's the hardest thing. It's like we go through periods of grief and we don't understand why. The ego is grieving itself. Your ego is having a hard time letting go of pieces of self. The damaged parts, the parts that were abused or neglected or taught to play small, those parts of you are fading away. They're going bye-bye. You don't need them anymore. You can let them go. But as you're letting them go, the ego then has a little bit of time where it has to adjust to different energy, different space. The ego is really, really loves to keep things the same. Ego loves sameness. And so when something falls away, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm melting. You're like the witch, I'm Wizard of Oz, I'm melting. I've lost a piece of myself. So there's fear, and there's sadness, and there's grief, and you can have a little pity party. That ego is like, oh gosh, like, what's going on here? I don't feel right. And I know many of us are going through that right now, where you suddenly just have this grief. There is a trick. The trick is just letting go. You just have to be willing. The ego is like this, it's clinging to this broken toy, like its whole life depends on holding on to this broken toy. And right there in the same room are all these big, beautiful gifts, brand new toys to play with. We're all getting such beautiful new toys to play with right now. But we're still holding on to that old broken one. And every now and then we start to give it up, and then we're like, before it can be fixed, we pull it right back again. Because we think that that's all we've got. This is it. I've only got this life. I've only got this body. This is all I've got. These toys, they always worked before, but now for some reason they're not working anymore. What's wrong with me? And your higher self is coming in and saying, well, I got all this new stuff for you. Imagine having your God self, your higher self, the truth of who you are, coming into your physical being and bringing you everything that you've ever learned in your entire Akashic record. How powerful is that? Every time you have come into the world, every time you've learned such beautiful things, and they start to show up. And I can guarantee you, if you're open to this idea, because I see it all the time, I see pieces of myself, these magical beings that show up, that want to help me, that want to teach me. And it's because I'm willing to let go of the old. If it comes at me, I might just sit down and cry for a little while, which I've been doing a lot of lately. And then once I'm given in and allowed my ego to have that time, I say, okay, ego, temper tantrum's over. Now that you're nice and calm. You ever seen a toddler when they get really, really mad and they throw themselves on the floor and they're kicking and screaming, and the best thing you can do is just remove yourself from the show. I'm going to go in the kitchen and make some cookies while you lay there on the floor screaming. And when all of a sudden you're like in the kitchen, you hear, oh, everything just went quiet. Let me go check that out. And you go in there and they're just laying there on the floor and they're doing that thing, and they got their little thumb in their mouth and maybe they pulled their favorite little blankie over and they're still. And that's when you get to pick them up. And that's what you get to love on them. And your higher self is still waiting sometimes for that ego to let it go. To go ahead, get it out of your system. And then once you do, and once you're still, it's a teachable moment. Your higher self then has the opportunity, once you're nice and calm, to come in and say, I know it was hard. I know you had to give up a part of you that you were so attached to. But we have so much better gifts for you. So imagine that it's just a shift. It's just a change. It's a good change. You're moving into a higher frequency. You're going to be able to create from your wildest imagination, whatever you like. You're going to create, we are creating a more beautiful world. We're pushing out the old negative energy, all the fear-based programming, and we're bringing in the love-based programming. Imagine a world with only love-based programming. This is not a negative shift. It just feels like it sometimes. So I want you to imagine that now. Just be there. I have a wild child downstairs. So I was trying to make sure it wasn't a painful yell and just a silly yell. So my hearing just perked up. All you moms, you can relate when you hear a squeal. You're like, good squeal, bad squeal. It's a good squeal. It's okay. Or it's a frustration with a dog squeal, something like that. So let's see, Carol Ann. Yes, that happens for me. All I have to do is think about someone that I know is not feeling well, and the energy starts to flow. Yes, it does. Isn't that amazing? Sometimes we don't even know. We'll be in a public place and somebody will be around us that needs healing, and all of a sudden we're like, whoosh. I was speaking with someone earlier who has a toothache, and all of a sudden it was like he's talking, and I'm like, I can feel heat in my hands, and I'm like, no, he didn't even ask for this, but guess what? His soul agreed to it because the healing just started flowing. Such an amazing gift. Let's see. Yeah, you have to put in the work, Lauren. It is a rough road. It's a rewarding road. The hard work is all very, very rewarding. So we really, that's just how we're wired. If we're willing to put in, it's not a work of doing, it's a work of being. It's a work of being still. It's a work of allowing for these things to come to the surface, facing them head on, and saying, okay, you know what? I've been going through these cycles for many, many lifetimes. Do I want to continue this cycle? No way. Okay, then I'm going to face this monster, and we're going to cry it out. We're going to talk it out. We're going to spend time with it. And then once that thing is calm, you can just let it go. Let it go. It's done. So it's a time of releasing, facing it and letting it go at some point. Don't try to keep it. You don't want to keep repeating these cycles. Let it go. We have to feel it. We have to be in it for a few seconds, but don't cling to it. Don't let it have too much of your attention. When you'll suddenly feel a shift. You're like, okay, here it is. I'm going to cry it out. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, I think that little temper tantrum is over. Now I'm going to release it with love. Thank you for the lessons learned. And release. Being in gratitude is always the best way to let these things move out of your existence. Let's see, Carol. Yes, that happens for me. I also have to think about someone. These keep repeating themselves. Oh, Carol, I have noticed that some people have been treating others with more compassion. I've noticed that too. I know the news has a lot of negative stuff on it, but if you look around, people are starting to shift. Even people that you'll have opportunities to have relationships heal. This past week has been an opportunity for many of my familiar relationships to receive healing. So, I think for a long time we were like, well, I can't keep letting these people hurt me, so I'm going to just cut off from them. But now it feels as if we're being given the opportunity to come back and heal those relationships so we don't have that baggage anymore. So watch for those opportunities, because I do feel like everyone is getting a shift here. Many don't understand what the shift is, and yet they're getting it anyway. And so all of a sudden you'll talk to someone and they're completely the opposite of what they were the last time you spoke to them, and you're like, oh, it's gone. The barrier is gone. Now we can actually have a talk. So watch for that. I think that's very true, Carol. Lynn Paulson. Lena, how are you got that beautiful dog and the birds, right? I don't get to talk to you very often. Trying to scoot through these because they keep on repeating. So if I'm missing you, it's hard for me to keep up with all of the things going back and forth. I wonder if I have healing in my family. Susan, if that's what you're asking for, set your intention on healing those relationships, and then find opportunities. I think the truth is when we lay down the ego, oftentimes the difficulties that we've had, we like to say that it's somebody else's fault, right? But the truth is that everything is mirroring us. So those things that maybe were triggering me and my family, I've had to go back and say, okay, and what am I doing to create these triggers? What is it that, how am I treating them that is bringing this back at me? Because it's obviously something that I'm doing. Yes, they are who they are. But I believe that when we change inside and we change the way that we react to people, that it changes the way that they react to us. Because it's always reciprocal, right? So if you really want to have those relationship changes, just set the standard for it. Just create the energy of it. We aren't here to change anyone. We aren't here to evangelize. We aren't here to try to force our opinions, force our beliefs down anybody's throat. We are only here to love. So we just love people no matter what. Whatever they do, you just love them anyway. If they're there and they're going to hurt you, don't allow yourself to be hurt. But if it's just disagreements, if it's just things that you can just agree to disagree and just say, I love you anyway, that's where we begin to see the shifts. It's just loving them anyway. You've sent healing for 2 years. Keep on doing it. Don't give up. Here's a story for you. I don't know what time it is, but I'm going to tell you this, Susan. It's really, really important. And I don't know if you heard this story. Last week, and let me see if I can go back to the beginning a little bit. I've been listening to, Carol was nice enough to share some books on Cryon, early books, way back in like 92, I believe. I believe the first one came out. It was Cryon, book 1, book 2, book 3. And I just so happened to be listening to, I think, book 3 on my way to New York. I had been told that my mother was dying, that she had a serious heart attack, and she had hours to days to live. And so I'm on the road trying to get to my mother, and I heard him say, there is a hair on my face. Sorry, that's not what he said. I heard him say that we don't choose whether or not someone receives healing or not. We don't judge. We don't decide if we should send healing or not. When we are exposed to someone who needs healing, whether it be emotional, physical, relationship-wise, whatever way it is, when we are presented with someone who needs healing, our job is only to send it. We just send it. And then their soul will decide whether or not they're going to receive or not. And so when they first told me about her having a heart attack, I thought, well, maybe it's just her time. You go through all these things, and I didn't feel the need to send energy. During the night, in the middle of the night, I suddenly, boom, I felt the draw of energy. It woke me up. So her soul was reaching out. Wasn't even aware of it, but all of a sudden it woke me up because I felt it. On my way there, I continued to send energy. It wasn't up to me whether or not at her age she should decide to let go and move out of physical or stay in physical. It was my job only to send the energy. When I got there, she was at death's door. Her toes were already turning very, very dark blue, looked black really. It was starting to come up her feet. She couldn't speak. All she could do, finally, after about 2 hours of being there, she opened up her eyes and looked at me. And I just said, Mom, thank you. Thank you for waiting for me. They expected her to go very quickly. The next morning, when she was up in a regular bed, the nurse pulled back her sheets and she had pink feet. And then through the week, we watched a miracle unfold. We watched her. First, all she could do to communicate was nod her head. The next morning, I said, all I want for Christmas is a word, Mom. And she looked at me when I asked her a question, and she said, yes. And from there, she just kept on getting more and more and more aware. She went from death's door, absolutely catatonic state, to, I spoke to her twice today, full conversations. So it is up to us. I see it as a beautiful miracle. That's what I see happened last week, and it made me humble, absolutely humble to watch it and to be a part of it. But my word is, or what I need for you to hear is that never hold back. Never hold back. Your request for healing for a certain family member, they are being heard. For anyone that's listening, it's always being heard. It's just, it's whatever is for their highest and greatest good, correct? And they get to choose. When Steve was dying, everything. I was on the floor. I was calling on anyone I could call, and I was begging, please. I knew I had healing abilities, and I wanted so much for him to live. And I kept begging him, please live through this. It was not it was not in his cards. He knew at a soul level that it was his job to step out of physical. So always, no matter how much our physical wants to control a situation, it is our job just to send the healing, and it is up to their soul what they're going to do with it. For him, it was comfort. For the last few days of his life, all of a sudden, he hardly needed any pain medication. So we can, even in the situation of someone passing, we can send healing that will bring them comfort in their final days. And sometimes our job is just to sit there and help them to cross over. And so whatever it is, it's just a matter of being in it. Don't blame it on yourself if you send healing to a situation and it doesn't find that healing. That person doesn't find that healing. At a soul level, we all know what we're ready for, what we're going to accept, and what we're not going to accept. So we just send the healing. Okay, I hope you can all hear that. Hi, Laura. Miracles is exactly right. It's to be in situations like that and watch them. Even when Steve was dying, I watched a miracle. I watched it. I sat there in that. I can't even tell you how beautiful, how painfully beautiful the dying experience can be when we're present. So whatever we're called to do, it's just a matter of being. Just be there. Yvonne, even in my dream world, I am experiencing forgiveness. Beautiful. My ex-husband, who was so awful, I dreamt 2 days ago that I hugged him and told him that I loved him. That is so beautiful, Yvonne. That is a beautiful story. I gotta have a little more drink. Sorry, I'm drawn out. I'm talking too much. Late onset bipolar. I don't know, Lauren. That would be a question. I don't tend to get into psychology. I think that right now, the only thing I go to is, excuse me, because I'm dried out, would be spiritual. Sometimes I feel like I've got spiritual bipolar. That's probably very different from the psychology. It feels as if some days we go on this roller coaster ride of I'm in pure joy. I feel like I can walk on water, to sinking down to the bottom of the sea in a day's time or in minutes. It's like we can go back and forth like this because we're in this energy of healing. It's like all of a sudden we get that trigger and it's like, okay, now we're going to go in this direction. So I don't know what you're experiencing, and it's definitely something that I would never deprive anyone of a psychology or a psychologist or a therapist, but please understand that we are kind of in that spiritual bipolar right now where our emotions are bouncing all over the place. And I know I've talked to a lot of people that are doing the same thing. Susan, my ex-husband, put $1,000 in my bank account yesterday. Never asked. That is a miracle right there, Susan. How beautiful is that? That is awesome. Let's see. My emotions, Lauren, my emotions are fluctuating too much this past week. Yeah, I think please be aware of that. It's a time for the clearinghouse again. The emotional clearinghouse. We had a big old full moon. That moon was gorgeous. All of this energy that we're in right now is like we're coming into that winter solstice. We got all this ending, a lot of ending energy. So it's like pulling it all through into, and then a new beginning. So just, I feel like for most of us that are going through this roller coaster ride, know that you are coming towards a new energy where you're going to feel some relief from all of this bipolar solar flares too. Yes, I was listening to something yesterday that talked about the solar energy and how it was Cryon that we would be receiving messages from the sun or something. I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen to that. But when you said solar flares, I was thinking that yesterday. I was like, what if these flares are actually communications? I can go way out there if you want me to. What if the sun is sending us messages and that energy is there for us to pay attention to? Think about that. Tell me what you think sometime. Blessings. The solstice is coming up. Yes, it is. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Let's see. What else? So, I don't know how long we've gone. It's almost 7 o'clock. I can talk for hours, literally, if my voice would hold out. I would love to pull a group card. I was going to offer cards. We're running late. I can stay longer if you want, if anybody would like to have a card. I feel like there's something in these cards for us, and I want to pull a group one because it feels like an important message. I'm sorry, I'm feeling the energy because it's crazy right now. Is it this one? Yeah, it's that one. Okay. Oh my gosh. So this is perfect for this time. We really need it. So the word is peace. I know it's backwards. So give me that message. We were just talking about it, and it feels like they are really giving us that message to hold on, to feel the peace. So it's not just waiting for that good time. It's not just waiting until, January 1st, everything's going to shift, everything's going to be great. It is within you. I want you to feel it for a moment. And we'll go through a meditative minute if you'd like to. Just feel your feet. Our job is to create the energy. We're not here to just be passive and just see everything coming at us. We're here to be creators. In order to see peace on the planet, we must create it. We are here to do that, right? So, if you can take whatever is going on around you, if you can stop every so often. I know you're out Christmas shopping or you're, who knows what you're doing. It's a very busy time of the year. Lots of different holidays, whatever you're doing. And lots going on. But in those moments when everything starts to feel crazy, and the gut reaction would be to be crazy too, the message to you tonight is to be still, is to come within the center of your core, right there in the middle. Take a moment, because they're sending through energy. If you're energy sensitive, you'll feel it right there at the solar plexus. It kind of gets bigger, but we're starting right there in the center, almost at your sternum, that breastbone, right in the center of you. And begin to feel. So asking that Archangel Michael would send each one of you protection, and that your guides, your ancestors, your loved ones would be present with you right now. Your higher selves coming in to the space. Feel that energy. Your energy is so amazing. If you can't feel that, it takes my breath away. As soon as I said that, it was like whoosh, beautiful. So allowing for your truth, who you really are, to fill that core, that center. So right now, in the center of you, you're going to continue to breathe right into that space, taking in all this healing energy. In through the nose, hold it for a few seconds. Let it go. Let go of the old. Blow it right away. Do that about 3 times. Let's do it again. Nice. One more. And make sure it's going right to that core. Fill it up big, like a big old bubble. And rest in it for a moment. When you're ready, you can release. Nice. There is such love available to you. And in this centered space, right here, You are in the closest place you can get to heaven, to your truth, to who you really are. It's right there in your core, and everything comes from it. So right there, when you're centered and you're in that most beautiful place of you, I want you just to allow yourself to float in that bubble for a moment. And I want you to feel peace. What does peace feel like? There's not a thing to do. There's nothing to do here. You can just be easy. You can see maybe a blue sea in front of you, the ocean waves coming in gently. Feel the warm sand as you're laying down on it. Just lay there and breathe for a minute and imagine yourself there on that beach. Maybe you see some dolphins jumping out in the water. But everything is nothing but peace here. There's just gentle waves rolling in. You can hear it. You can hear a few birds singing. Feel that peace. And now I want you to imagine from this beautiful place, we're sending the peace that we've just created all the way around the planet. Imagine it in places of war. You're sending that energy right directly to those places, to those people who are suffering. Send them some beautiful, peaceful energy. Send it to the ones who are creating the war. This is what it feels like to feel peace. Show them how beautiful it is. Send it to the trees, to the earth, to the stars, to the moon, to the sun, to the dirt, to the rocks, to the animals, to every living being, to every blade of grass. Beautiful. It's so beautiful it almost takes my breath away. We are being asked to do this. You are a miracle creator. You are here as a portal. You are the portal. I know we're looking outside of ourselves for a portal someplace. It's not outside, it's within. You draw in this beautiful energy. And once you're holding it in that heart space, that beautiful core of you, you then set an intention on where it needs to go. And as you do that, like ripples on the lake, on the ocean, it spreads, it just keeps on rippling out. It has this beautiful effect all the way around the globe. That's what we're here to do. It's that simple. It's just taking a few moments here and there. Send it out again. Send it out again. Send it to those loved ones. Those ones that you would love to have healing. Pull all that healing energy into the center of you and imagine to set your intention on sending that beautiful bubble of energy right to those loved ones. See what happens. Just try it. When you go out shopping, take it with you. Let it reach out and touch those people around you. Watch how we change everything. This is what's important. This is what we're here to do. Now take one more big breath. So much gratitude to you tonight for joining me and for helping to send all this beautiful, peaceful energy out into the world. Your guides are applauding you. They are bowing down to you. They are grateful to you. They know how hard this is. And they are there for you. Just call them anytime. Please call. Just whatever name you want to use. Just know that they're always there for you. One more big breath and begin to feel yourself fully come back into physical. Feeling healed and strong and centered and grounded tonight. And perfectly protected. All wrapped up in a bubble of protection. Only love in, only love out. Much better. Thank you guys so much for joining me. The peace needs to start from within. Exactly. Exactly, Carol. It starts in the center of us. We are the miracles. We are the ones that bring in the peace. We bring in the healing. We bring in the love. If you're, whatever you want to call it, for me, I call it the Christ White Light Consciousness. We bring the healing, the miracles into planet Earth through the center of us. Remember how important you are. Remember that everything that you're focusing on, just remember that you are here to create miracles. It's important to stay in that place of love. And that is it for tonight's show. I hope that you guys had a beautiful time. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for joining me, for all the feedback. I'll go back and try to catch up on some of it in a little bit. Take good care of yourselves tonight. I love you so much. I'll be busy all weekend, but I'll check back in with you next week. Take good care. Bye for now.